Is Ontario?
Ontario is the most beautiful province in the world.
And you were well received?
Yes, by every community. There's a lot of Italians in Ontario. I can't believe it.
Toccato quasi 1 milione di persone.
I am so proud to be a Canadian. You know, and
Marcello walked more than 2,000 kilometers across Ontario to get the message out. Both men presented a plaque to the transplant unit at Toronto General Hospital before meeting provincial Liberal leader Dalton McGuinty outside.
George's walk ends September 30th in Toronto, after which he'll meet Premier Mike Harris.
there's talk about me being acknowledged at the throne speech on the 20th.
You're going to be marching around Ontario, 2,000 kilometers here and there and everywhere. Why are you doing that, and what do you hope to achieve?
After further cuts in healthcare spending, and specifically from the multi-organ retrieval exchange program,
we have, like so many other organizations funded by government, just had a funding cut, one more funding cut. And George is going to be raising awareness, I think, very significantly.
George's main goal was to get the attention of the Harris government. And he got it.
Like me, thousands of people across Ontario were inspired by George Marcello and a whole step-by-step team as he walked across the province. And that's why I invited George to join me in the legislature for the throne speech, our inaugural throne speech this session.
George Marcello waited years for a donor before his life-saving transplant in 1995. This year, he walked across Ontario to increase awareness of organ donation. In response to Mr. Marcello's mission, and on behalf of the people of Ontario, Premier Harris has accepted as a Millennium Challenge the goal of doubling the organ donation rate by 2005. Your government is developing an organ donor action plan that, through outreach and education, will raise public awareness and improve registration. A new Premier's Advisory Board on Organ Donation, headed by hockey legend Don Cherry, will recommend complementary initiatives.
The Premier's Advisory Board went on to become the Trillium Gift of Life Network. Neither Step by Step nor George were invited to participate.
The provincial agency's position
The headline is, "Where's the McGuinty plan for organ donation?" And with that, happy to turn the floor over to Barbara Fisher, and following her speech, any questions that need to be asked could be addressed to me, or if there's specific questions to ask Barbara, she's here to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, George, and good morning, everybody. I'm involved because I care. I am a past member of the government that, in fact, funded the Ontario Trillium Gift of Life Network to the tune of $120 million. In 1999, Premier of the day, Premier Harris, made that commitment to Ontarians to move forward on the issue. It was because of George's work that, in fact, that fund was set up. It was introduced in a throne speech, and work began. It wasn't until about a year ago now, or maybe not even that long, that I met George personally, and it was through a friend that said, "This is a person you need to meet." I'm not here today as representing any political party. This issue doesn't have a political boundary, and people are missing that. What needs to happen is we need to move forward with passion and commitment to do what, in fact, the Trillium Gift of Life Network was set up to do. I've had the opportunity with George to meet with representatives of the network on 2 occasions. Prior to George going to Europe on his own expense with the support of the media network, we met with Trillium Gift of Life, and we offered to do the research and help prepare the educational pieces that are necessary so that the public can become more aware of and perhaps move forward towards becoming donors themselves. That was declined. Instead, they chose to hire a research person. We asked to work with that person. That wasn't permitted. We asked to meet with the board, by the way of which there are brand new members on. What a time, what an opportunity to bring this case forward and start afresh. If in fact for the past couple of years they haven't been able to move forward in terms of increasing the number of donors, then now is an opportunity to do it with these brand new board members. That was declined. Instead, we did a statement last week where the Premier of the province decides for all of us that Ontarians aren't ready. Based on what? One would question that. So we're not here to fight about it, we're here to help. George's step-by-step is a very, very impressive, strong commitment that has been made by a person who's been affected. I really just am in the system. There's nothing in this for me except for to move the issue forward on behalf of George and every Ontarian, and where possible, every Canadian that has a need for a donor transplant. Just so you understand, there is an audit done on the number of transplants that happen throughout Canada. Just before George went to Europe, the announcement on this year's audit were made. It's a sad statement when we have $120 million new dollars into that organization since 1999, that there's a 0% growth in organ donations in the province of Ontario. The audit statement from last year says that. It's a sad statement that they can't see that we need to move forward, maybe in a different manner in which it's happening. So one would question where the money is and where it's being committed. To commit that they will make it mandatory that doctors, in fact, consult with the relatives of a deceased person is important. That can't be not. That's a step forward. But if that's as far as we've gone, in that amount of time with that much money, something is sorely lacking. The time is now to move forward. It's to move forward with the research that really needs to be done. It needs to be done collaboratively. It needs to be done in support and with the Ontario Trillium Gift of Life Network. That's a commitment that we made, and it hasn't been taken up yet. And hopefully today, this will change things. The education needs to happen. The public isn't aware. For somebody to assume that this would not be accepted is a wrong assumption. George says 1,000% times worse than ever. It might be more than that. It's not all about presumed consent either. This is something that has to go through a process. There are 23 other countries in the world that actually practice presumed consent. Canada doesn't have to be there at one step, but it needs to move forward. We made recommendations in May and June as to how to move forward. We were hoping, at least from those meetings, that some of that input would have been helpful in determining the next step for the foundation to move forward. Last week's announcement just ignored it. The public needs to be involved, and by whatever means it takes and is necessary for us to take, to find the funds to make that happen, we are going to move forward. Hopefully it can be collectively with the current government, but if it can't be, we're going to move forward anyways. The people are going to have the right to speak, and nobody should speak on behalf of other people on this issue until they've had the opportunity, number one, to be educated, and number two, to have the right to voice their opinions. And we will make that available to them. And I'm not going to say much more except for that I'm here to help George, and I will continue to do that. And hopefully we can move forward. I guess it takes a survivor to understand how significant this is. And when we know that there are 4,000 persons right now waiting for organs, and day by day people die who these organs could be obtained through and from. And I'm sure, if given the opportunity to have that decision, might have made that progress. So, in closing, I just want to say I'm here to support George, and we'll move forward.
Thank you.